we left it open. Like if either of us wanted to date other people.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like we were an item.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay.
But that kind of ticked me off.
Yeah, he was out after that. He
So
was
I'm like,
you know what?
Peace, I'm out. I'm gone. You don't call me again. I'm out.
He didn't say any of that, but that
He
was
just
his
left.
posture. He was out. Yeah.
You were gone.
I was gone.
Yeah.
I was moving on.
Yeah.
And then how'd y'all come back together?
This was maybe a Friday?
Yes. And Sunday at church, I was at church and Grandma, my mother's mother, who was this delicate, sweet, elegant, dignified lady who never spoke much. She'd sit right there on the second row every Sunday. And she looked at me at the end of service and she said, "Who is this young man that I've been seeing around?" And I said, "Oh, his name is Jerry." And she said, "Well, whoever it is, you need to marry him. He is looking at you every time I see him like he will love you for the rest of your life."
Grandma did not say that.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I said to the Lord at the end of service that day, I said to the Lord, if Jerry is for me, change my heart. Make it so that because I know you don't want me to marry someone that my heart is not fully in. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to be just a technical decision because he checks the boxes. I know you'll line my heart up with it. So Lord, I'm open to your will for me. And so if it's for you, I'm available for that. What do you have for me? And I'm telling you, I don't know exactly the moment, but let's say I woke up the next day. It was either that night or the morning when I woke up. I'm telling you, I could not live without this man. I could not live without him. My heart was totally on fire for Jerry Shirer. And so I called him back and I said, "Hey, so what had happened was," and I said, "I'm ready if you're ready to walk in the direction of marriage."
That's what you said.
I sure did.
Every second that escapes without you here with me keeps my heart anticipating till I finally see you.
When I made my vows, I told God that I was going to take care of this gift.
All my life I've been waiting for you. Girl, you know I've been praying for you. Been writing these love letters to you.
So I fight for that future in the present. You know what I'm saying?
That was good.
Congratulations to the ones who found love, for the hope and new beginnings from heaven above. I await my future wifey. I pray that it won't be too long, every second.
Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey Podcast. I'm your host, Laterras R. Whitfield. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? If you're still shacking up with us, can we get a commitment? Hit that subscription button and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified about upcoming episodes. Listen, as we continue to deep dive in love and relationships, we're about to wrap up season 8. And I can't wrap up this season without having today's amazing guest. But before I introduce them, make sure that you sign up for the mailing list and also join our Patreon so you can see exclusive content. I'm about to jump on in. Without further ado, welcome to the Dear Future Wifey Podcast. My homies, Priscilla and Jerry Shirer in the building. See, y'all understand how rare this is. I have Jerry. I know y'all happy to see Priscilla, but let me tell you something. It's an act of God to get Jerry to show up
Correct.
somewhere. Oh boy, you got to fast and pray to get him to show up. So Jerry, why have you decided? Matter of fact, he decided to sit in the audience and watch the podcast be recorded. and Priscilla said, "You sitting in the wrong place."
It's like you're supposed to be on this one with me, babe.
He would have said,
I think you forgot. Yeah,
you forgot, Jerry.
You know what? I tried that one last ditch move and it didn't work.
So Jerry, why you like being in the background?
I just feel like that's where I'm calling. My calling is right there. I'm not a person that needs to be out front, that needs to have accolades to do all that. And so for what I do for my family and for Christ, and that's all I need.
You know, it's a powerful position because a lot of times people feel like the only way to do ministry is to do front-facing ministry, to be, especially as a man, to feel like I got to be out there or whatnot. And so I love that you have the heart posture of a servant and say that, listen, as long as I can provide support for my wife and support for my family, I'm doing what God called me to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have so many other things going on, but they're my priority. And I just want to make sure that they're taken care of. And again, I like being behind the scenes because one of the things that I'm called to do is protect my bride. And so, people will, do several things and come up with several, approach her at different things. And it doesn't bother me because I know the final answer still comes here.
So he said the final answer come there, Priscilla?
He said what he said.
I'm sorry. I say some things.
So how do you, because this is an important thing that he just said, a woman of power, a leader, how do you find the balance in submitting to your husband?
That's not hard for me at all. And I'm not saying that there aren't phases of marriage that all marriages go through where you have to work on submitting to authority as a, any woman really has to work towards that.
Right.
And mature in that. But I think when there's this verse in Psalm, in a Proverbs, I can't think of right now the exact reference, but it talks about the shade of a tree, the comfort of the shade. And to me, when covering provides that shade and you feel the relief of that protective covering, what you want to do is get up underneath it. I'm thinking about the heat of the Texas sun right now where we live. It is so hot outside.
Oh, yeah.
We're running to find shade when we're outdoors. That's the way, if a husband provides that, to me, it makes it simpler, easier, beneficial. Feels like the most wonderful place to be. So why would I run from that?
So you're going to start out preaching?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Priscilla, you're just going to preach like that?
I can't help it. It's in my...
She said, why would I run from that?
Yeah.
So finding that balance in that, let's just go back, rewind the hands of time. How did y'all meet?
You tell it. Go ahead, tell it, babe.
Well, I always start off like this. My wife was doing prison ministry. I was doing 3 to 5. But no, I'm just kidding.
I know that story.
They don't know if you're serious, baby.
No, that's it. No, actually, I was an executive for a hotel chain here, and I'll start off and I'll let her finish.
Okay.
And so my boss's executive assistant, who's the president, we were calling Zig Ziglar, the corporation, for him to come speak to the executive team. And he wasn't available. My wife was one of, 3 or 4 speakers that if he wasn't available, he would send one of those speakers.
How long ago was this?
25. We've been married 25 years.
That's what I'm saying. So you were speaking like that 25 years ago? On
a very small scale, but yes, I was connected with Ziglar in my early 20s, which I didn't know then would be part of the formation of what. Yeah. He was like a grandfather to me through those years. Just a wonderful man. Do people know who Zig Ziglar anymore? They need to know. Yes.
Anybody got any sense?
Right. So,
oh my goodness, I didn't even know this part of the story. Go ahead, do tell.
Well, anyway, she was so she was the one that Zig sent, and when the executive assistants, Priscilla, at the time, when you send in all your, accolades and all that, she had a headshot in there as well. And so the assistant was like, "Oh, Jerry, this is who we have coming. You need to meet her."
You said, "I sure do."
No, I didn't. Because she lays the packet in my office on my desk, and I'm looking through it. And of course, I see the picture, and I'm like, "Yeah, no interest at all." And she goes, "Why?" I'm like, "That's my pastor's daughter."
Okay.
I had been going to the church 7 years.
To church, okay.
But we really never met, and I didn't see her because she was gone off to college, or there was always transition. So I only remember seeing her at church maybe a handful of times. But the picture, she looked just like her mother. So I'm like, "Yeah, no, thank you, but I'm good." But anyway, so I let my wife.
So she said you need to meet her as what? What was she trying to insinuate?
She was trying to
hook you up.
Yeah. And at the same time, I didn't realize. Go ahead.
That she had called me, this assistant who I did not know, had never met her. She called me and she said, I'm so sorry. She said, "This is so crazy, but I was showing your picture around the office to the executives to let them know who'd be coming to speak. And One of them is a guy named Jerry Shirer. He just was saying he's been at y'all's church for 7 years. And she said, I just feel like y'all need to meet each other. And I'm thinking, this woman is nuts.
Yeah, because it's like, where do you cross professional stuff like
Totally.
that?
She totally crossed the line. And she just was the nicest lady, but felt strongly like y'all need to meet. And neither one of us really thought anything about it until 4 months later when this luncheon was happening. And I went there, kind of forgot about it. And then I remember he walked through the front door. And I remember the moment he walked through the front door, because I remember looking towards the front door, kind of doing a double take, like, who is this brother? Who is this big brother coming in here?
Yes, I have arrived.
I have arrived.
And then that, I just recall her introducing us to each other. We kind of said hello briefly. And then that kind of set in motion us getting to know each other from there. And now we've been married 25 years.
You can't just skip all like that.
Yeah.
You cannot skip. I'm like, how do you go from I'm not interested, this is my pastor's daughter, to now we see each other at a professional event.
Okay.
And now we're going to go
We
be
didn't
personal.
talk at the event at all because I was speaking there and then I left, thought nothing about it. By the time I got home, there was a voicemail. Okay, it wasn't voicemail because it was answering machine. It was an answering machine that went beep. And he left me a message. So he had asked the assistant
For that phone number.
for my phone number.
Well, I already had it because the pamphlet was still on my desk.
Oh, did it have my personal number in the
Yeah,
pamphlet?
it had-
I
yeah,
don't
it had
remember
your
what
number
was
on it.
happening
Yeah.
back in the day like that.
So what did you think in that moment then, Jerry, after you met her? And you had a chance to have that brief interaction?
Yeah, what made you call me
Yeah.
and leave the message? Was it my beauty?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it was. At the time, I'm like, oh, okay, because it was just a picture. Never really met her before, and she seemed very approachable. I'm like, okay.
Did that feel awkward to try to shoot your shot at the pastor's daughter?
Actually, no, it did not, because at the time, it was. I wasn't thinking that far in advance.
You just wanted to get to know her.
Yes.
Okay.
So it wasn't. But I knew it was like, oh, pastor's daughter, PKs. I think I'm okay.
Jerry, why you say you okay on the PKs?
Yeah.
Okay on the PKs.
At the time, I was okay on the PKs.
Did we have a reputation or?
I'm just saying, we all went to college.
Understand.
And so when you saw him, what did you think? Was it just platonic or were you like, because you said you did
I
a double
definitely
take?
thought he was very handsome. I thought he was handsome. It was platonic for me in the sense that I had just gotten out of a relationship with a gentleman that I thought I was going to marry. We met in college. We dated for several years and we'd broken up, but I assumed we were going to be coming back together at some point. So, and I told him that, like, we went on a couple of dates and I was very kind of like, this is fun hanging out, but I was honest just about the fact that I wasn't ready. I didn't tell him all the reasons why. I just said I wasn't, I'm not going to be serious, but we can hang out.
You didn't tell him that you were waiting on the other guy to come back?
I didn't say that specifically, but I just said, hey, let's be friends. Let's just enjoy each other. And he was okay with that. But I will say, I don't know how seriously he took me or if he took me seriously, but thought she'll be fine. She just need to get to know it. She just
Is that what you thought, Jerry?
Listen. Because we have both just kind of gotten out of relationships.
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in getting anything serious. I thought at the time. So that's why it was just.
It was cool.
It was cool. It was okay.
However, a month after we met.
Was it just a month?
It was 1 month, sir.
I think our time is a little off, but anyway.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're right about that one. Yes.
A month after we met, I called Daddy one day. I mean, Dad and I talk every day, basically. And I just called him, hey, Dad, what you doing? He said, oh, I'm just sitting here talking to Jerry.
Huh?
I said, Jerry, who? And he said, Jerry Shirer. They weren't buddies. They didn't know each other. He had made an appointment with my dad to come and talk to him about dating me seriously.
You did?
Yeah, I know daddies. And one of the things I need to make sure is that it was a smooth transition.
So you're trying to win him over, get him on your side.
That's daddy.
Uh-huh.
And you're daddy's little girl.
So what made you do that? What switched in that 30 days that made you say, I have to go talk to her daddy when we just been casual?
Because at the time, I should have known something was up because our first date was
Baby Doze. We went to Baby Doze when
which is no longer here, right?
Yeah, Baby Doze.
And while we were there, or was it was earlier that day. Her dad was the chaplain for the Mavericks. Had 4 tickets. He wasn't going to go to the game. It was when the Chicago Bulls were playing the Mavericks, and it was the time when Jordan retired for the first time.
And so Dad said, do Priscilla or anybody in the family want these tickets? And I was like, well, we're going out to dinner. I was like, Jerry, do you want to go ahead and go to the game afterwards? So we went to the game afterwards, and
I should have known something was up because, like I say, this is when cameras were allowed in there. So every time Jordan touched the ball, all you saw were flashes. Because, this is his first retirement. Mm-hmm. The Mavericks ended up beating the Bulls that day. I should have known. I was being set up by the Lord at that time. The Lord was setting me up.
Yeah, we couldn't believe the Mavericks beat the Bulls that night.
So that was our first date. And so kind of what changed there is like just hanging out with her, talking with her. It was interesting. I enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed it. And for some reason, the Lord kind of softened my heart because my heart was hard after that breakup.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, he just kind of started tenderizing that heart towards her.
A month later. And you felt it was necessary to go talk to her dad.
Yeah. I did.
But when you were...
And I tell guys this all the time. If a woman or a young lady that you're dating has a family and that her dad is in her life, whether dad or mom, but dad specifically, she's a daddy's girl, you better make sure you win that man over.
But that's before, so when you did that, did you have intentions of marrying her at that point?
At that time, I had intentions in
dating
intentionally.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a different perspective because most time guys not going to go talk just from the dating perspective. Even dating with intentions, they'll go and ask for their blessing, which is kind of counterproductive because they need to be able to start fostering that intention early on, so there can be an easy transition to say, now can I have your daughter's hand in marriage?
Yeah, because I wanted him to see who I was. I wanted to see who he was. I saw him on the stage.
Yeah,
but I need to make sure who he was on the stage was the same person. Also, that was off the stage. But at the same time, I knew that, we had conversations about wasting each other's time at a certain point. And I'm like, I don't want to continue to just do this and it's not going anywhere because my time is more valuable.
And you were how old during that time?
Oh, see, I am 6.5 years older than Priscilla. So at the time,
he found me
I was
on a
29.
playground. He said,
on the playground?
"Little girl, here's some candy."
Here's some candy, and then took a ring pop, and then they actually put a ring on there.
So I was 29.
Okay, but 29, you were thinking like that.
29.
That's different. See, that's what I'm saying. I love to hear stories of how people dated back then because
he said back then.
Back then. Because it's back then. When you talk about it now, ain't nobody 29 years old time I'm finna go talk to your dad to do that. They just don't think like that. You'd be hard pressed to get somebody 42 to think like that. So at 29, you were thinking like that.
So at 29, he said like back in slavery days. 29, y'all did
back
that?
when they had the buggy and the horses.
Right.
They were sitting up here.
Well, I will tell you, I hope our sons think like that. We have 3 sons, and we talk to them about that now. None of them to this point. We have almost 22 years old, 20-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And to this point, none of them have had serious girlfriends. But we've said that to them all along, and we've talked through what it would look like for them if they come into a relationship with a young lady. We've always said that the father is going to be a part of that. You need to like this woman enough that you are willing to go to look at her father in the face and say, would it be okay with you if I take her out on a date?
On the first date?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You need to have a conversation with the person who's covering this young lady. Make sure you have her permission.
Because it provides some accountability.
Yeah.
If I'm going to your dad and if I'm raggedy, then I may not want to go to you. But if I'm coming
with integrity,
I don't have a problem with that.
Which is true because my son-in-law, my daughter got married about a year and a half ago. That's what he did. They were 18. You know what I'm saying? And they ended up getting married at 28, or 27. But that's how it was. But I felt like I was so traditional that was my expectation. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that should be the requirement.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. What we're level setting is the requirement to say, hey, listen, that is a healthy platform and the foundation to build from, which is absolutely beautiful. So how long did you date her until you Did you hear God say that she was the one, or what did that look like?
Well, there's a transition in there between then, because, and I don't know how long we were dating, and I really wasn't thinking about it, but we were at the mall and just started looking at rings. And I wasn't thinking marriage or anything. I think I was just looking at styles, but I wasn't that far down the line. At least I wasn't thinking I was.
Styles.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, just look at some rings.
It was to you. We were casually walking through a jewelry store. It
Yeah.
freaked me out because to me, it made me think, oh, he's further down the road than I am.
And how many months was this?
Well, let's see. We met in February, and then this would have been like in November.
Okay.
So it was the same. It was within a year that we were on, a date, went to the mall, and then he
about
was
9 months later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you were just looking at styles to try to get her.
I wasn't thinking. I really wasn't thinking about me. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest, at the time. But it did freak her out, and I got a call. A day or two later?
Yeah. And I just said, I think we just need to not see each other anymore because I feel bad. I feel like you're further down the road than I am.
Priscilla, you done ended it with my boy just because he had some intention.
I wanted to try to be honorable and be honest that I wasn't there yet. And I assumed he was.
Well, why can't you just say that instead of end the whole relationship?
Because I'd been saying that for the 9 months. Like we kind of kept arm's length a little bit because I was like, I'm not sure we can go all the way there. Like we were dating each other, but it wasn't like we left it open. Like if either of us wanted to date other people.
Oh, really? Okay.
It wasn't like we were an item.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay.
But that kind of ticked me off.
Yeah, he was out after that. He
So
was
I'm like,
you know what?
Peace, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Don't call me again. I'm out.
He didn't say any of that, but that
He
was
just
his
left.
posture. He was out. Yeah.
You were gone.
I was gone.
Yeah.
I was moving on.
Yeah.
And then how'd y'all come back together?
This was maybe a Friday?
Yes. And Sunday at church, I was at church and Grandma, my mother's mother, who was this delicate, sweet, elegant, dignified lady who never spoke much. She'd sit right there on the second row every Sunday. And she looked at me at the end of service and she said, "Who is this young man that I've been seeing around?" And I said, "Oh, his name is Jerry." And she said, "Well, whoever it is, you need to marry him. He is looking at you every time I see him like he will love you for the rest of your life."
Grandma did not say that.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I said to the Lord at the end of service that day, I said to the Lord, if Jerry is for me, change my heart. Make it so that because I know you don't want me to marry someone that my heart is not fully in. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to be just a technical decision because he checks the boxes. I know you'll line my heart up with it. So Lord, I'm open to your will for me. And so if it's for you, I'm available for that. What do you have for me? And I'm telling you, I don't know exactly the moment, but let's say I woke up the next day. It was either that night or the morning when I woke up. I'm telling you, I could not live without this man. I could not live without him. My heart was totally on fire for Jerry Shirer. And so I called him back and I said, "Hey, so what had happened was," and I said, "I'm ready if you're ready to walk in the direction of marriage."
That's what you said.
I sure did. And he said, "Okay, let's go." And so we started exclusively dating. And by February, we were engaged.
So in December, I went to her dad.
Yep.
That was November. In December, I went to her dad to ask for her hand in marriage.
Wow.
And Daddy said,
The next month.
This is what he said. He looked at me. This joker looked at me and said, "Put it in writing."
He did.
He said, "Put it in writing."
Put it
Put
in
it
writing.
in writing. Because my mother's father had made my dad put it in writing.
Yep. And then he said, "I will reply with my answer to you in writing." So he says,
I like this.
Yeah,
later
so
on
he
in
had to
life,
write a
if you
note.
ever
I
go,
like
if
this.
you ever go astray, whatever, he goes, "I have it in writing what you said
Ooh,
you would do."
Oh, goodness.
So we have my letter to him and his letter back to me.
Which Daddy, this a little raggedy. Because Jerry
Yeah.
gave the letter to Daddy and Dad took 6 weeks to respond.
That joker took forever. I'm like, man, are we on this or not? We doing this? But yeah.
That's so terrible.
Why you take
But he-
6 weeks?
I don't
But
know.
he did give me his verbal before then. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
He was on his
her
sweat
mom.
boogers.
Her mom had to say, Tony, write the boy a letter.
You done made this man write you a letter? You gonna send it and be delayed?
Oh yeah.
What did it feel like to get his letter back?
You know,
And do you remember what he said in that letter?
I don't remember all the.
We have it. We should go back and read it. We haven't read it
I
in
have
so
all
long.
the I don't remember all the details, but basically, I've been watching you. You've been treating my daughter with respect, honor. Basically, it looks like you will take care of her for the rest of her life, and I give you my blessing to marry my daughter.
You know what's so important? To make sure that you have believers surrounding you. Because if your grandma didn't say that to you,
Totally.
think about how she spoke a word that a woman that doesn't speak much at all spoke. And when she spoke, you listened because she doesn't speak much. And the fact that what she said, you like, because you could have said, you don't know what you're talking about, you old, you don't know nothing about all this, but you listened and said, okay, God, I submit myself to you. If this is who I'm supposed to be, change my heart. And you prayed a prayer that invoked God into your life to say, oh, I can do it. And confirm that which your grandma saw.
Yes.
That.
And you are so right. Like the wealth of wisdom, experience, people who have walked the road of life longer than you, that have insight into future realities that you don't even know what matters. When you're single and you think you know what you want in your spouse.
Teach.
You really actually only have a very myopic view of what you think is going to be important. You've devalued the things that actually over 25 years are more important that I didn't even factor into the equation. Like, I will give you one of them. He is the most thoughtful person, one of the most thoughtful people I've ever met. When I say thoughtful, he is already thinking 3 hours later. If I back my wife's car into the garage, that means when she pulls out, it'll be forward and it'll be easy for her. I didn't realize that marrying somebody thoughtful, proactively thoughtful, would be this critical in life. It's been amazing. I remember when the kids were little, he would get up before me in the morning. He still does. But when the kids were little, he would get up, turn the fireplace on, because he knew that sitting on that couch to have devotions was just my joy in the morning when the kids were little, that he knew I'd want. So the fact that he was thinking, let me just turn this fireplace on so that when she comes in, I wasn't thinking about that when I was single and before I got married. So I'm just saying there are realities that people that have already walked the road of marriage and know the difficulties that present themselves within it, that when they look at somebody you're connected to, they can tell you in advance,
Yes.
that ain't gonna work 8 years in. Somebody who thinks like that or doesn't think like that. So listening to the wisdom of that.
She said
oh
the
my
way
gosh.
he looks at you, he will love you for the rest of your life.
And see,
She
to
did.
me, this is where that submission thing comes back in. Because for me, it is once a woman knows that that she's more important than you, she doesn't have a problem submitting, because she knows that she's always going to be the priority, even
Yes.
over yourself.
Yes. So how did you show that though? Who taught you?
Well,
That's a good question.
I remember this. My father passed a while ago, but I grew up in a single parent home. Mom.
But hold on, I want to clarify that. His father passed away 8 years ago. That was while we were grown and married.
Okay. Yeah.
He was in a single parent home because his father chose not to be a present father to them while they were growing up.
Okay.
Yeah. Not because he passed away, it's because
Right.
he
Yeah.
wasn't
I'm
there.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clarify. Thanks for clearing that for me. But so I saw what it did to my mother. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to whoever I marry. I want to make sure they're taken care of. I want to make sure that they have everything they need. So growing up in a single parent, it's going to lead you one way or the other. It's going to lead you, you're going to continue in that generational curse, or it's going to make you say, oh yeah, no, I'm going to do just the opposite.
Yep.
So learning that helped me a lot. But one of the things that Priscilla and I did, I think probably one of the most important things of our marriage is that the Lord brought in an older couple who, 15, 20 years marriage before us, and they became our covering.
Good.
Okay. So whenever we have conversations, well, let me back. So, the Bible is pretty clear. The husbands submit to your wives.
Yep.
Wives submit to your husband.
Yep.
And that's great, but sometimes it's great for your spouse to see you submit to somebody here on earth.
Facts.
Okay. So that you're not just running kind of wild.
Yep.
So when she sees me submitting to another man in my life, so if he says, Jerry, no, do this. And I'm like, what? Yeah, do it. No questions asked. I do it.
Good.
I do it. So she knows that when I make a decision, it's not a decision that's just based on what's going to be best for me. It's going to be what's best for her and our family.
Good. As he was doing that, you was taking those cues?
He was doing what?
Submitting to another man.
Totally.
You was watching all that.
I think I am telling you, the key to us having any, somewhat semblance of a successful marriage and having made it 25 years is because we have a couple that we have both agreed are the voice of wisdom for our marriage.
Good.
And when we have differences, disagreements, he's going in a direction that honestly I don't want to submit to because I don't agree with it, then we have both agreed we will call either the husband, the wife, or both. We will have we will, give them the information and get their insight and help them, let them be the voice of authority in our lives. Knowing he has that, knowing I have that. But in my case, since I'm submitting to his authority, knowing that he's just not a loose cannon out here making decisions that he just kind of feel like today, but that there is someone there that is a sounding board for us, then when he thoughtfully has come to a decision about what we're going to do, even if I still don't prefer that, I can submit to it with more confidence because I know that we have the counterbalance and the sounding board of an older, wiser voice of wisdom.
The counterbalance. Mm-hmm. That is so important.
It's so important.
Because sometimes you'll think, well, I know the Bible. Ain't nobody can tell me nothing. I know. And they got their own issues they had to work through. And they probably didn't have nobody they submitted to. So we know enough about each other that we can make decisions based upon what we know about each other or not.
And let me tell you something. I would say to any single woman that is considering marrying somebody, if that brother is not submitted to authority that you can see, that is tangible, healthy spiritual authority, and he just thinks he could do everything on his own and he's wise enough and smart, I would think very carefully about whether that is the person that you want to be submitted to in your life.
Facts.
Yeah.
So the dad gave you the letter back, giving you permission. And then what did you do then? How long did you wait in order to execute that? I'm calling it a contract at this point.
Right. Well, our first date was in March.
Right.
We met in February. Our first date was in March. We got engaged in February. She was on a show. She was a correspondent reporter on a show called Positively Texas. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, you sure was on there. This is great because I get to hear that she was on Positively Texas.
Yes.
So at the time, I told her I had to go out of town on business because I traveled a lot, and I said I'll be out of town. Because I knew Valentine's Day was coming. So this is on the 12th of February. This is before Valentine's. And I said I'm out of town, and
you lied.
You lied. Starting off with a lie.
And so I did, but it was for a good reason.
Yeah.
Because I knew she was going to be at Collin Creek Mall.
When it existed.
When it
was there.
Yep. And she was doing a live correspondence in front of a smoothie shop called Frulatti's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was great because when she was doing the interview with the guy, she her producer in the ear said, ask him what's the difference between a fruit smoothie and was it a fruit and a yogurt smoothie or something like that?
And I remember thinking, why would I ask him that? The difference is one has fruit and one has yogurt. Like, what are we talking about here? So I just remember thinking, this is the dumbest interview.
Yeah. And so anyway, he goes, wow, that's a good question. I don't know. And she's looking at him like, you don't know. And he goes, well, maybe that guy over there does. And so there was an awning there that opened up.
Oh, man.
I was there with a violinist.
Good move, boy.
And all that. So on live television.
You better get
This
it.
live television. And she's like, what are you doing here? So our parents were downstairs watching everything on the monitors. And I proposed to her on live television.
Yeah.
Jerry, you thought of that?
February 12th.
You thought of that, Jerry?
I did not. Her producer called me actually when she realized that we were talking about getting married. And
suggested,
again, I'm not a camera in front of the kind of person. I'm like, no, I'm good. But she talked me into it. And I did it.
I bet you're glad you did, huh? Because that's...
Well, when I got down on one knee and I proposed, I'm like, listen, this is live television. If the answer is no, that's fine, but say yes right now. Say yes right now.
Later.
And we can just, and you can say, no, I was just kidding. I didn't want to embarrass you on live television.
Don't you say no in front of all these people on your show. What did you think in that moment?
Just shock, just complete shock, because I couldn't figure out what he was doing on TV. what is happening right now? I just was confused, But it was a special moment.
And you said yes.
I did. I said yes. One of the best yeses of my life.
Oh God! And then y'all got married. How many months after that?
6.
6 months.
Yeah, we were married in July '99, so we are literally at our 25th anniversary right now.
What date?
July 24th.
Why did they just make me emotional? So it's 25?
It's 25 years.
That's a long time.
We cannot believe it.
And y'all only 35?
I mean, seriously.
How y'all got married at 10 years old? That is crazy. Something ain't right about that. So let me tell you something. So 25-year history. What are some things that marriage taught you about you? I want both of y'all to tell me, what did marriage teach you about you?
Go ahead. He asked you first.
Should I answer for you what it taught you about you?
Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. Because she probably knows better than me, I'm sure.
Well, what I was thinking, first thing that came to my head was that you are not as flexible as you need to be in a family dynamic. Jerry is a very structured, he grew up with military background. So, they make the bed with hospital corners and all the folding of clothes was in squares and stuff. I remember our first couple nights of being married, he was like, do you make the bed with hospital corners? I said, Negro, what?
Hospital corners?
I don't even know. I had never even heard it. I didn't know. We're not in a hospital. I don't know what you were talking about.
Hey, that quarter better be able to bounce off that bed right there.
Did he still make the bed like that?
No, I don't even make a bed anymore.
See?
Flexible. He was flexible.
And the reality is you have to be, and you don't know the places where you were a little too rigid or you know what I mean? For me, I will say that it taught me that expectations are usually realistic because they're in your unrealistic. So because they're in your imagination, and that you don't even realize you are holding people captive to a script that they did not agree to.
You better say that.
They didn't agree to that.
Let me tell you something. I had to learn that in my own single life and dating. I kept saying, how am I writing scripts for people? And if they don't say the right lines, then
I'm mad at them. And they didn't know they were in your production. Yeah.
They didn't audition for it.
And you don't realize you have them. You don't know you have expectations until people don't reach them. And then you're disappointed, frustrated, upset, mad. So that's what the dynamic taught me in marriage. It was like, oh, I expected this. And because that's not reality, I'm frustrated. So am I going to continue to hold him or my children or whatever to this picture I've created? Or am I going to let the WD-40 of grace just ease all that rigidity and let people free? Let them be who they are. Let's enjoy life as it is.
Yeah.
And so you're not lowering your expectations. You're just letting it match what is and saying, Lord, thank you for what is, instead of trying to always make it something that you created in your imagination.
That's good.
But even if you're not lowering your expectations, I tell people always go in with low expectations, because if you go in with high, you're disappointed.
But going in low, and if they do something great, you're like, wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing. But you also realize the thing that attracts you about your mate when you're dating is the thing that's going to drive you crazy in your marriage.
That's facts. So name that. What about her that you were attracted to that drove you crazy once she said I do?
Careful, brother.
Well, no, this is one, and there's simple solutions to it, though.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the first thing. When we first got married, of course, she says I'm very particular.
Yeah.
And I am. So I remember when we got married, and maybe a week later or so in our marriage, I noticed that she squeezed the toothpaste from the middle and leaves the top off. I'm like, why do I want some crusty toothpaste when it's time for me to squeeze? You know,
She's still trying to figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah. But I'm like, but it drove me bananas because I like mine. You squeeze it from the bottom up. You know, you put your top on when you finish.
So it'd be fresh when you get.
I'm kind of all over the place. Like I'm kind of a spontaneous, go with the flow.
So it was making me upset, and I'm like, so I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna go buy her own toothpaste, and she can do whatever she wants with it.
Set you free in marriage.
She was free, I was free.
Simple as that. A couple of dollar toothpaste.
That's it.
We can argue for 3 months about it, or just use 2 different toothpaste bottles.
You know, so there's always really a simple solution if you want it and if you want to find it. But if you want to make a big deal out of it, you can.
What were some things that you learned? Like I said, that I asked her, what did she learn about herself? But she resorted to say what you learned about you. So what did you learn about her? What did she learn in marriage about herself?
What did she learn about marriage, about herself? I think, again, I think she had a certain expectation, again, growing up in Tony Evans' household, the way she saw her mom and dad did things. Her mom did everything for her dad. And that's what she saw as well as her role as my wife. I'm going to do all these things for my husband.
Kind of in the traditional sense of what a wife is,
Well, name those traditions. We're talking about cooking and cleaning and
the cooking, the cleaning,
ironing clothes.
Yes, the making of a home. My mom did that. That was her primary role. And she did other things outside of the home, but not in any way at the expense of that. So I really tethered my value in wifehood to the fact that I was going to bring those traditional wife things to his life.
And you didn't want it?
And well, let me say this about her mom. Her mom did those things, as she said, without sacrificing. She didn't sacrifice the home for being outside the home.
Right.
But she did do things outside the home because she helped her dad build the ministry that he has today.
Facts.
She was the backbone behind everything.
Facts.
Running the ministry, doing all that. So she had the business sense, but she did not allow it to take away from what her first calling was, and that was her home. Okay. So she saw that. But again, I grew up in a single parent household. Probably at 10, 11, my mom taught me how to cook my first meal because they were out working. I had to have the dinner prepared and the house clean before they got home. So after practice, my sports practice, I ran home to do my chores.
You talking about cook for the family?
To cook for the family.
He has 2 siblings and his mom.
So you had to cook for them.
Yeah, because they were out working. So mom would give me one recipe, teach me how to do it. She would give me another, teach me how to do it, and kind of built on that. I had to iron, I had to clean. So I did that for myself pretty much my entire life.
So we get married and I'm thinking, this is the value I'm going to bring to his life.
You felt like you was bringing no value because you
totally.
couldn't do it.
He didn't need any of that. I remember the first load of laundry. I was so proud. I remember washing, drying, folding the clothes, waiting for him to come home from work. And this brother right here said thank you and then proceeded to unfold and refold everything.
I knew he was going to do that. I knew because he liked to fold a different way.
This was devastating to me. I'm a new wife. I'm 24 years old. I'm just, trying to find my footing. It was devastating. And I remember talking to my mom, over the course of the first months of our marriages, I'm realizing, he cooks better than me. He cleans better than me. He's more precise with those things than I am. And I remember my mom, I'm all crying about it and everything. And she was like, Priscilla, let that man do it. Let him do all of that. And her basically, it's the same toothpaste thing.
Yeah.
It's you can make a big deal about it or just let him do those things because he enjoys it. And it doesn't mean I'm not doing them at all.
Yeah.
But it's okay for him to do that. Priscilla, you didn't grow up seeing that. Dad was he did the, man stuff, the trash, the lawn.
Yeah.
But inside the house, I'm not used to a guy doing all the detailed things that a woman brings to the home. He can do those things and he enjoys those things. So my mom was just freeing me up to say, your marriage does not have to look exactly like me and your dad's. Let him do what he enjoys. And she said to me the same thing I still do to this day. You can wash the clothes sometimes if you want to, dry the clothes, but then just lay them out flat on his bed. Let him fold them then. And that's what I started doing instead of being devastated that he didn't like my folding, which I'm still a little upset about it.
Have you learned to start folding like him?
Absolutely not. No. I am not a precise person. I'm a big picture sort of, vision person, can get the project done, but there's little things in it that I'm never going to be able to fold the thing in a perfect square. That is taxing to me. So no, I have not. I just let him enjoy that.
Do you still do it? Do you still enjoy doing that?
I would never say I enjoy it. It's just, I do it.
Yeah.
Now, I will enjoy the cooking part because that's relaxing for me.
Yeah.
Being creative, being relaxing. But, all the other stuff, I just do it because it needs to get done and I do it.
Then why can't I do it?
Huh?
You about to say, because you don't do it well.
Right.
No, she does.
Because you don't do it right.
Yeah.
She does it. She does it great. And actually, my wife probably has become almost better cook than me now over these 25 years.
Okay.
Because, life happens and I end up doing the cooking. Like, it's reality with life and feeding kids and everybody's got practice and stuff. So I cook more than he does, but just that natural knack where folk don't need recipes and they can make it taste like a restaurant.
That's him.
Oh, my goodness. He's a great cook. So anyway.
So what you learned about you?
What I learned about me, actually, the thing that drove me crazy was her freedom. The freedom she had just in life. Oh, it's going to be okay. I'm stressed. I'm a person I have to see what's going to happen at the end and I work my way back.
Yeah.
My wife is like, no, let's start here and we'll figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, just start.
So what I learned about me is, again, I needed to relax a little bit. That same thing, I needed to just
enjoy the journey.
Like, she seems happier than me. I'm always uptight, but she's always smiling and enjoying things. I'm like, well, let me relax a little bit. So I think that's what she kind of brought out in me. And what I learned about myself is don't take things too serious.
And that's what I love about marriage is that it brings balance on both of y'all. It's like whatever your strength is, maybe his weakness and vice versa. And then y'all level set with balance with each other because but then the key is when you're wise enough not to let those little idiosyncrasies destroy your marriage. Like, he unfolded the clothes. He just don't like me. He don't respect me. He probably wants a different wife. It be getting further and further. Like,
and to be clear, we've been there.
Yeah.
In the 25 years, there have been times it's like, you know what? This is not going to work out. So I don't want to give the impression we've just kind of, made it through.
So how'd y'all navigate those spaces?
Well, let me just say that this is how I made it through as a man. And this is what I realized when I married her. I married her, but I made a covenant with God.
Mm.
Okay. So for me and we all understand what the covenant of God means.
Mm-hmm.
You break that covenant with God, it's destruction in your life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's no difference. We have to work it out because I'm not going to break my covenant with God. And that was the thing for me that keeps me always connected, willing to, and this is the other thing I learned as a man. Let me say this, I'm kind of regressing, but I noticed that anytime we had any type of what I call, she's called, spiritual heated fellowship.
Yeah.
I would kind of draw away from her.
Okay.
And it wasn't that I didn't want to be away from her. It was that I needed to process.
Yeah.
Everything. She saw it as, oh, no, we need to talk. We're going to talk this thing. I'm like, I can't, you don't want me to talk it out right now because I'm going to say something that I know I'm going to recover from.
Yep.
So I have to process this thing, let it. Yeah.
That's my problem. I'm like, we'll talk about it now. And I'll be like, that may not have been best because I'm just.
And so that's what I learned about me because originally I wouldn't. This is a story. I remember one time, this was early in our marriage, we had a disagreement. And she got upset and she said, well, I'm leaving. I went and opened the door. Leave.
And crunk a car for her and say, here, let me put seatbelt on you.
She went to her daddy's house.
Uh-oh. That's a slap in the face, boy.
And her daddy calls me and says,
come get your wife.
No, he goes, what? Priscilla's here. What is she doing here? Whatever. I'm like, she wanted to leave, so I let her go. He goes, well, I'm sending her back.
I gave her away.
Yeah.
It's no take backs.
But again, you learn from those experiences. And again, if you realize that there is no out, you're going to figure out how to work it out.
Facts. What year was that you felt like was the hardest year that y'all had to overcome? 2? He got 2. What you say?
Well, 2 and then 15.
2 and 15.
Yeah, 15 was, Listen, we don't have the time to go into this whole thing. But when she did the first movie, War Room, on marriage, believe me, whatever you're doing something for the Lord, he's going to attack that.
There it is.
He's going to attack it.
And the directors told us that before we filmed War Room.
They
said,
did?
They
did. They said they wanted us to think about several things before we agreed to do it. They wanted me to do it. I had said no at first because I said, y'all know I'm not
An actor.
You know, I'm not an actor. Because you know how you've seen movies before and it could have been good, but that one person who thought they could act, oh my gosh, they ruined the whole thing. And that's what I said to them. I don't want to ruin y'all's. Y'all have, up to that time, they had Facing the Giants, Courageous, good films. I was like, seriously,
Fireproof.
y'all. Yeah. And I'd sent them the names of some African-American women I know who were actresses. And I was like,
she said, I'm going to be the casting director now.
Yes, I was like, let me help y'all. And they were like, no, we feel strongly you should do it. And they told me to read the script. When we read it, of course, we saw what everybody else saw. It was ministry. It wasn't just a movie. It's ministry. And ministry is our heart, and they know that. And then they said, but here are some things you need to pray about and think through. One of them is anonymity. You're going to lose that on some level. Even if War Room, we didn't know War Room was going to become what it did. But even
made over
without
$100 million, the biggest movie that they ever did. Yes, the Kendrick brothers ever produced.
And even if that wasn't the expectation or anticipation that would happen. So even without that, they were like, just being on a movie screen is a different situation.
It is.
Make sure you're okay with that. And then the second thing is, they said, whatever our films are about, the enemy comes at us in regards to that in our lives. So they said, this is about marriage. If you guys agree to do this, you need to be in spiritual warfare mode about your marriage because the enemy's coming for you. And I mean, he wore us out. The year
while
we
you were
filmed
shooting,
War Room.
while y'all were filming.
While we were filming.
While we were filming. Listen.
While we were filming.
I'm going to share this one little thing. And this is a whole
I'm
nother
proud
thing.
of you for sharing this, babe.
Yes. But
A Dear Future Wifey exclusive.
listen,
Yeah, because he doesn't like to talk about this.
I was out.
Yeah.
When I say out, I'm not leaving, but I'm leaving this set. I'm done.
Oh, you was there on the set?
Oh,
about
we
to
were
leave.
Whole
Our
family.
family, yeah.
Our whole family was there for 3 months. We were filming in North Carolina. And he was like,
I can't do this. I'm out. Watching this, this marriage.
well, tell them what it was that
It was probably more insecurity because seeing your wife play a wife to some other joker and
he
seeing,
didn't realize how that would feel
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
Now, let me just clarify, the directors of War Room, they care very much about family and care very much about the preservation of marriage.
Yep.
So every scene that you see, Tony who was the husband character, Elizabeth is the wife character in War Room. Every time you see us in a wide shot, of course, it's us. Anytime there's a close up of the holding of hands, the washing of feet, those are his wife's hands and feet, not me. So the directors are that careful that they don't let all the touching, anything that's semi-intimate.
Yeah.
They would take me out of my clothes, put it on his wife, and let that be filmed. So that's how careful the process was. But even with that, for Jerry, he didn't realize how it would strike him all kinds of wrong to just see me in close proximity with a dude.
All kinds of wrong.
We were arguing a lot. So he's, it's kind of like passionate arguing about personal life stuff.
Yeah.
And you're doing that for 12 hours every day for 3 months. You're with this person in close proximity because you got to film these scenes over and over and over to get a movie. And he watching that, it was devastating for him.
But y'all had to been going through something behind the scenes in your own personal life where that began to reinforce trauma.
I don't recall.
Yeah, it's like it was just an explosion. We got on set.
It just, and you just said, I'm done. I'm done with my marriage.
Well, this is probably, right. This is probably, I guess, we were there for 3 months. So this was maybe halfway through. And again, this is where you have to have accountability in your life, okay? Because I'm like, I'm out, I'm leaving.
What do you mean by leaving? Going back home?
I'm going back to Texas.
But you weren't saying I'm leaving my marriage.
No, I'm going back to Texas. I'm gone. I'm going back to Texas.
Oh, no, you might have been, babe, because you were not happy.
I wasn't happy, but this is the thing, is that I was going back to Texas, so I wasn't sure what was happening, but the accountability in your life was Alex, it was Alex Kendricks came over.
He's the
director. To the apartment. He's the director, came to the apartment, said, Jerry, so we were talking and everything through because, again, he wanted to, make sure everything was good. And I didn't open up with him like, yeah, I'm good, man, whatever, I'm good. So my wife ends up calling Pastor Jay, who is our
the couple
covering.
we told you about. That's the wise older couple in our life.
Yeah, John and Trina. So Pastor Jay, she called him. I know whenever him and I have a rhythm in our calls. And whenever he calls me outside that rhythm, I know she done called him on me about something.
Correct.
She done snitched on you.
She done snitched on me. So when he called and said, "Hey, Jerry, how's it going?" I'm like, "Pastor Jay, this is not our call time. What did she say?" So anyway, she called him, and I had already had my flight booked to Texas from Charlotte back to Texas. I'm like, "Oh, I'm good, Pastor Jay. You know what? I'm going to take some time away from the set. I'm going back to Texas." He goes, "No, why don't you come to Maryland and visit me?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm going to Texas. I'm good."
He said, "Nah, I'm good."
So before we ever decided to get in this relationship of covering from them, one of the things he always said was this, as a couple, they said, "We will rarely ever give you a directive, but if we ever give you a directive, you do it with no questions asked." So we have probably been in this relationship with them now probably over 15 years by this point.
That point. Yeah.
Wow.
Never given me a directive, ever. And so he goes, "No, Jerry, I really think you should come to Maryland and spend some time with me." I'm like, "Pastor Jay, I'm going home. I'm tired. I'm going home." So he says, "No, listen to me. I need you to come to Maryland." I'm like, "Okay, are you asking me or are you telling me?" He said, "I'm telling you.
This is a directive.
This is a directive." I'm like, "Okay."
So
I
he went
changed
to
my
Maryland.
flight and went to Maryland.
You see that submission, though? Submitting to authority,
huge.
submitting to another man, change the trajectory of your marriage because you were like, I took this. And that's what I love about the fact that you said that, and especially comes from did you come from a military family or you spent time in the military?
Military family.
And so, and directives are extremely important in the military. And so when you hear it, it's like, this is a directive. You do it. And the fact that you submitted to that. And so you went to him, and then what did he say to you?
For probably 4 days, just him and I together and spending time with me, talking with me, praying with me, trying to get to the root. What's going on, Jerry? No, Priscilla's not like that. So the enemy will put all kind of things in your head. Think about it. He will say, again, the guardian, did the Lord really say not to eat? Really? Yeah. Did he really say that?
Yep.
So he does. He will come dressed in a tuxedo, dressed to kill.
Yes.
And convince you of things that are not happening.
And you're sitting there watching it in real time.
Yep.
And then he's telling you something that deceives you because you're watching. Even what you said, the detail that they put into making sure that y'all not close, y'all not touching, y'all not doing all that. He's watching it, and his mind say, "Well, maybe offset. They maybe do this. Maybe this. Maybe they." Oh yeah. He sure smiled a little too hard. I heard the director say, "Cut." Why they keep staring at each other so long? You be telling yourself all this stuff.
Like, why she still looking at him? He said, "Cut." Cut. No, I'm just kidding.
Cut inward. So the reality, you're feeling that, and it's interesting that they told y'all that ahead of time. And
they did,
yeah.
And it still don't prepare you for it.
Don't prepare you for it. You don't get prepared. That's the reason. God knows everything.
Yes,
He knows everything, but He could not feel it. He knows it, so He sends Himself down as Jesus, so He can experience the things that He knew that He put in place. So now He goes, "Oh yeah, I know how that feels." And so you can say anything that you want to a person, but until they experience it, it's totally different.
Facts.
It's totally different.
And what happened in that restorative moment? Did you feel uncovered by the fact that he left the set, or did you still feel covered because he was in good hands?
I felt relieved that he left the set.
Oh, you did?
Totally. It was very, very difficult to be working 13, 14 hours a day, to have my 3 children with me, that I wanted them to make sure I'm a mother, so I'm still concerning myself with their well-being. The Kendrick brothers let them help, let them do intern things. They stuck my sons in scenes, all that stuff. So we were doing it together as a family, but it was very taxing.
Yeah.
I have such regard for people in the film industry now that I've done it just a few times.
Yeah.
Because it is hard work.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the middle of all of that, my husband, I actually am not able to tend to him in the way he needs to be tended to.
Yeah.
And so when he left the set for those few days, it was relief. because my sons, the boys could feel the tension in the apartment that we were staying, that little apartment. They could feel that dad's, what's going on with, they could feel all that. So when he left for those few days, it was necessary so that he could take care of himself. And I knew, like you said, he was in good hands, but it just gave us an opportunity to breathe and enjoy the experience where we were. So,
and then when you came back, what happened?
It was a different perspective. I just had to.
It still was difficult but it was.
But I had to just kind of release it. I had to release it.
And I'll say this too, thinking about submission, actually, as we've talked about that, submission to the Lord, but also submission to my husband. I recognized in the moment, this might be the only time in my life I ever do this. Not only because, it was, to me, just a happenstance that it happened anyway, to begin with, but also because I realized he may not be able to handle this.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember I have a journal entry written down after War Room. We finished filming. It hadn't come out yet, but we finished filming. It was like we were at a very hardworking summer camp all summer. It was one of the best experiences. Just creatively being in a brand new setting that we've never experienced before. The kids had fun. So I remember writing down in my journal, Lord, that was, thank you for that. That was fantastic. I realized my husband might not be able to allow us to be in that ever again. So thank you for what it was. And I said, Lord, I enjoyed it. I would like to do it again, but I am willing not to.
And she ain't doing this again.
That's right. He was very clear that I would never do that. We will never do that again.
3 films later.
Yeah.
But again,
it's not because I was trying to convince him. I mean, I didn't think we would do it again anyway, really. Yeah. I thought it was such a random thing that we got to do it once. But I was setting myself up for, let me just go ahead and know that he's the priority. The Lord knew I'd be married to this man. He knew before there was ever a War Room or the Forge or Overcomer, he knew I'd be married to this guy. He would not have allowed me to marry this guy if he had not factored that into the equation of what is best for me and our family, our sons. It's not just about what I want to do.
That's good, Priscilla.
So I was willing, and it wasn't easy.
No.
This was something I had to write down. I had to pray through tears. Lord, this is one thing in my life I've kind of enjoyed. That's been the surprise adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But thank you for the one time. I'm willing to never do it again, if that is what is needed to preserve this family we got right here.
God, that's good.
And if it's something you want for us, then I will leave it in your hands, Lord. And over the years, I don't exactly know how or why, but over the years, the Lord just kind of softened his heart to the possibility. Now, there are parameters around it.
Of course.
At least for now, he knows that me being in a wife role wouldn't work for him.
Yeah.
So anything that comes across, any script that comes across our path, and that's the role, it's a wife, it's probably not for me.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and we're willing to just work through those dynamics. But he went from, we will never do that again, to let's just see what these options are.
But again, because I saw how much after all the scales kind of fell off my eyes, I saw how much she enjoyed it. And again.
And you saw the impact of it, like the ministry impact.
Yeah, I didn't really care about that.
Tell the truth. Be transparent. That man said you preach and get impact. I don't care about that.
Right, there you go. You can do it. Right here, go talk to the women.
And create impact. I'm still very man in love with some dudes.
But I'm just, talking to Pastor Jay, just over time and everything the Lord, and I knew that she liked to do it. So I said, okay, Lord, help me help her. And if it is your will, change me. And that's what he did. And again, my ultimate thing is I want to protect her, provide for her, and have her have the best experience in life. And if that's part of it, then what are those things, parameters that we can put in place where you can enjoy it and I can support you in it?
I love that. So that gives me a different perspective, and tell me if I'm wrong or right, or add clarity. When they created the Forge, did they write that around you and made you somebody that didn't have a husband?
No, listen, no. They must not realize the connection between the two.
No. But before the Forge was going to be connected to the world of War Room, they were just writing a single mother.
Right.
And no, I don't think they weren't thinking, let's make it a single mother so that Priscilla can do it. No, they were writing the role because they wanted it to be a single mother that was, raising this young man that is the centerpiece of the Forge.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You
no,
don't
it wasn't for that reason.
you don't never have to audition. They just be putting you in the movie, right?
One time I was somewhere and Sherry Shepherd was there, and Sherry Shepherd said, "I want you to know, we out in these streets auditioning for roles, and they keep giving you these roles, and we don't appreciate it."
Well, she did. You did audition for War Room.
For War Room, yeah, because
I'm talking about a whole nother movie.
Yes.
Well,
And Overcomer, you ain't auditioning. They just putting you in them roles, huh? It's called
Kinda.
Favor. Just say Favor. It's okay.
It's got to be Favor. It's got to be. But also, I think that it is. What's the word? It's just opportunity for ministry. That's what it feels like
That's
to
how
me.
you look at it.
That's
But
how I
these
look
are
at it.
people- You and I talked about this. What you look at as opportunities for ministries are people's career.
Yes.
Like people,
Yes.
like you and I got
have
a chance-
respect for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
you and
my
I, we
goodness.
worked together in the play that I did, The Gospel Live. And you just like, I'm not an actress. And I just be like, you say that, but when you get a lead role in a movie, you can no longer ever say that. You just cannot say that ever.
Okay. Yes,
Because
sir.
people, they start off as extras. Have you been an extra before?
I don't think I have.
I don't think so either. Have you played a supporting character?
I'm a supporting character in this film.
No, I'm
in the
talking
Forge.
about in your first film. I'm talking about before you got your lead role.
No.
I'm a supporting character now.
Yes,
You're still a
I
lead.
understand.
You're
yes.
you're a lead. It's a co-lead movie, and so the reality is you started off all the way there, which is a dream and a movie. Your first movie makes $100 million.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's like now you're an A-list box office success from that. I know you don't care about none of that, but when you can be in a movie that makes $100 million, I want in on that. I want to write a script and be like, and put Priscilla in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what happens. That's the reality of it. But what's so beautiful about it is your heart posture is so humble. You be like, I'm just doing ministry.
Because this is that is the way I feel about it. And I got to tell
Jess,
you
I don't
this.
care about that.
And I got to tell you this. I feel like I totally just lost my train of thought.
You say you feel like.
Yeah, I feel
About
like
ministry.
Yeah.
I forgot.
And
I'll
acting.
come back to it. Yeah, I'll come
So
back
think
to it.
about that. So with the Forge, how did the Forge come about, and how did you get cast in the Forge?
Well, they were writing this role, single mother of Isaiah, who is the main character in the film. And, they were thinking, okay, this is a Black woman. She's a single mother. We want to try to embody that in a way that they didn't even know if they could write it the way it needed to be embodied. So they called me sort of in the beginning processes of even writing. What would this mother say that we can put on film? Because look, I was
What
like,
does Black Mother say?
What did Black Moms?
correct.
That
Because
we
let
can
me
put
tell
in a
you,
Christian film.
that's exactly right. Because I was like, let me tell you, she's gonna have to have a lot of grit. She's gonna have to be raw. And
It's got to get close to cussing, but not cuss.
correct. And still, I feel like in the way the final film is, I think that feeling is definitely there.
Oh, it is.
But if my son, rolled his eyes in the way that in one scene, I think Isaiah kind of turns around and rolls his eyes. Oh, I wish my son would, but I couldn't, just haul off and smack him, fully on camera because that's not what's in the script, But I appreciated them wanting to say, how do we make this realistic to your cultural experience?
Yes.
And so they just asked me a lot of questions about how can we write this, or how can we in the moment, here's what's on the script, but just convey that. You don't have to say this exactly. How would you say it to your
That's good.
sons? And that's what I tried to do.
When I say that movie is absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'm so
It's a
glad to
scene
hear
in
that.
there, which I don't want to give it away to everybody, but I got a chance to see one of the early releases, and I broke down crying. I said, why am I crying? What I love about it is it's the first film ever that deals with discipleship of men. Mm-hmm. It's the first. It is the first. And I felt it as a man. And somebody that's sitting next to you was also in the movie. Uh-huh.
Now, there's been a change of heart from the War Room experience to they got this man on screen.
Got this man on screen.
What?
How did you get involved, Jerry?
Okay, this is the deal. Let me see. We shot that in June. Was it June?
July. Last July.
July.
A year ago.
My brother passed away in May. That May.
Sorry to hear that, King.
Yeah, just unexpectedly. And so it was about discipleship. And then my son, who's in the movie with me, G,
Yep. Shout
came to
out.
me and said, Dad, he goes, why don't we do this? He goes, you can play Uncle Vaughn and I can play you. Because my brother was actually, when Dad left, he's the one that took care of me. He played that father role in my life. Kind of, anything I needed, he was there. And so that's how it all came about. And so in the movie, I play my brother Vaughn and my son plays Jerry.
Don't do that to me, Jerry.
Yeah.
Don't you do
Believe
that.
me, it messed me up too, man.
Don't you do that.
Yeah. It messed me up, brother.
Yeah.
So that was, I'm like, okay, son, I'll do it. And I understand how important it is for men to disciple men, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am today. It started with my brother. Then when I went to this hotel chain, the president, for whatever reason, took an interest in me. He pulled me in. And I remember I was there for 8 years. And when Priscilla's dad came to ask me if I would come work with him or his ministry, I'm like, the only reason I would leave is if this man right here gives me permission. Because he's invested so much in me, there's no way I would leave him. So if he gives you permission, then I will consider it.
Yeah. Yeah. Other men have been so impactful in Jerry's life, as older women have been in mine. Just people that don't realize the investment they're making in you at the time can shift the trajectory of your whole life. So that's why you did it, sort of in tribute to his brother.
Yeah.
Lord Jesus. Oh no, I can recover from that moment. Because that's what the film embodies, is that. And it spoke to the iron sharpening iron, as the Bible talks about. It spoke to that in me, and it was a film that I got excited about. I'm one of those people that, when it comes to Christian films, I want to see them get it right.
Yes.
Don't be all Rudy Poot. Don't be bootleg. Don't be cheesy. Don't be corny. Don't be lame.
And they can be one way or the other.
Oh, they can be. You be like, Lord, why we got to come out like this? Lord, why is this so corny? I can't tell nobody to go see this. This is whack, is lame, is corny.
Yep.
And the Kendrick brothers keep getting it right. They just keep getting it right. That film was so beautiful. I was watching. I said, I cried so hard in this scene. I can't say the scene. It's a scene that you have with your son. And
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that is a powerful.
Jerry?
That's powerful.
Jerry, I'm sitting there snotting and crying in his movie theater.
But
I was gone.
Is this. Even though if we didn't see it personally in our life, we saw it personally in our community.
Yes.
And we could relate like, oh, man. And then you're like, how come I didn't have that? I wish I had that.
That part.
And then it makes you say, well, I can do it for somebody else.
That part.
And that's where I am, because it was so funny when one of the biggest things in the Bible was a blessing from a father to a son. Okay. My father wasn't there. He didn't give me that blessing when he passed. I felt like I was cheated out of it. I will never get it. But I remember the Lord was like, okay, that's not true because I'm blessing you. But even though you feel that's not true, do not miss out that you got to pass on that blessing to your boys.
Yes.
And to other young men.
Yes.
Because you grew up in a certain way. You know how it is. There's no excuses, because I'm making the opportunity. Yeah, it may be a little bit harder, but the opportunity's there. You just got to work for it. And that's what I saw. And that, which is why I think I am so in tune to my wife and my kids, because of those journeys and experiences that were hard for me in life, but those are the things that made me who I am.
Jerry.
I know, right?
Jerry, if you would have me, I want to submit to you. I want you to cover me. I need you in my life. I need you in my life to cover me in these single streets. Oh Lord, I need some covering. I need it. I need it. I need it. And it's so important. I remember in 2020, and this was before y'all came in, I write a letter to my future wife, and in it I said that in 2020, I told God to bring me men of God, mighty men of valor, to keep my arms lifted up like Aaron and Hur did for Moses while he was fighting the Amalekites. And so I'm very specific in knowing that I need that.
Yeah.
That I need those mighty men of valor to just keep me when I be like, man, forget this. This Christian walk just don't really make sense. It's just we're trying too hard.
The message, like you said a minute ago, in the Forge. That's why it hits you so hard, because we see pictures and images of women being in a relationship with other women.
Yes.
But to see it with men and with black men
yes.
in this film is huge.
It's unheard of.
The name The Forge is the name of the discipleship group of men with younger men that are all together in this discipleship group. But it is also symbolic of that sword that is sort of the mascot, for lack of a better words, of The Forge. And in one scene, Isaiah, who, my son in the film, he's holding it by himself. And I mean, the thing is heavy. We actually got one from the set. A real sword is a very, very heavy thing to hold out straight with one arm, 10, 15 pounds that you're just holding out straight. And so they have him holding it there for a while, and you see the tension, you see the stress, you see the weakness beginning to come in his arm as he tries to hold it up.
And the fatigue.
And the fatigue. And then you see these brothers step forward out of the circle and put their fingers underneath that blade. And the relief of weight off of that young man, as you were talking about your arms being held up.
Yes.
Because you've got other brothers around you to help carry the weight of life. And that picture right there is not only, I think, going to be symbolic for the viewers who are watching The Forge when it comes out, but for Aspen Kennedy, who plays Isaiah in the film. At the end of filming, he said, "My father was not present in my life." So this is the real young man.
The real actor.
He just said, y'all have no idea how being in the 14 hours a day of filming, particularly when he was with all the men filming all the Forge scenes, 14 hours every day. He said, y'all will never know what it has meant to me. Even the scripted blessing over his life that happens in The Forge. He said, the scripted version of that blessing over my life, I'm taking it personal and into my own life because I never had what you just gave me in this film.
And one of the other things the film shows is it's not about you.
Yes.
Okay? Because there's that scene that people are going to see why The Forge got started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was about him,
it would have never happened.
it would never happen.
Never happened.
Submission.
Yes.
Yeah, and a
An
tender
older man
heart.
came to him,
Yeah.
Yep.
discipled him, for
And then
him
he
to
passes
forgive,
it on.
and he passes it on.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about people understand about the Christian life. It's not about you.
Never.
It's not about you, which makes it hard because we want it to be about us.
Totally.
That defeats the purpose. It needs to be about me. What do you want people to take away from this film, Priscilla?
I hope that they take away the challenge to look around them and see who the Lord has entrusted to them, that it hadn't occurred to them until they see the film, that person that is just a part of your daily life or your work life or your church life. But now you see that the Lord has entrusted that person to you to impact their life.
Yes.
Or vice versa, that there are people that are right around you that the Lord has positioned there to impact you, but you haven't been teachable enough. You haven't been willing to be vulnerable enough to allow the wisdom of another person help to teach you what it means to be a disciple. It's one thing to be a believer. That's a free gift, and thank God for it. But it's another thing to choose to surrender everything, to take up your cross and follow him. That's discipleship. So we have a lot of Christians who are not disciples. And this movie is about what it means for yourself to surrender all. But then the flip side of the coin of discipleship is then impacting the life of someone else and showing them what it means to walk with Jesus, to have the character of Jesus, and to emanate his character in the regular rhythms of everyday living.
When does this movie come out?
The weekend of August the 23rd is when it will hit theaters nationwide.
And don't you have a book coming out?
I do. It's called I Surrender All, which is that message of discipleship, surrendering everything, not just a Sunday morning thing, but what does it look like for all of our lives, our finances, the way we raise our children, the way we govern our marriages, our habits, our entertainment choices, when we submit all of that to the authority of Jesus, well, then life looks different.
And when does that book come out?
The beginning of August.
August
I think
6th,
it's
right?
like, look at you.
August 6th.
You know more than me. August the 6th.
Yes.
Yeah.
August the 6th. I
So it's
surrender
August.
all.
Yes.
What book is this? How many books have you written already? Can't even think.
20, maybe 22 or 23.
I mean, just only 22, 23. Still trying to get my first one out. I want y'all to know that.
Do it, brother. Do
Trying to
it.
get
We
my first
need your
one out.
words.
Yeah, next year, one book.
Come on.
First one.
That's it.
22.
It
23.
doesn't. It doesn't even. That's not even relevant. Don't even
It's
matter.
very relevant. It's very relevant. Listen, when I say I'm so proud of y'all, I'm proud of y'all not just because of the success that y'all have garnered doing marriage right. Because what I love about, even when you look at the great exploits that y'all have accomplished individually, y'all couldn't have done it without each other.
Right.
You just cannot do it without each other. It's like, even for you to even say movie 2 wouldn't have come about had his heart not been submitted
Correct.
and softened. So people like, congratulate, movie 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5. And you like, these wouldn't exist. If my husband wasn't okay with it, I would have to just say, God, thank you for that first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the summer camp that we went through.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Kids, you enjoy that? Amazing. We're going to go and support you in your acting career if y'all decide to choose that, but mommy's done with that.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes for people to be tethered to one another and find oneness, and for Jerry to also get to a heart posture, because I guarantee that his mind thought about the happiness and joy that he saw on your face. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry. Was that a determining factor for you to also say, I'll go ahead and allow this second movie and third movie, because you saw her genuinely happy doing the first one?
I did. And, she would always say, well, what about, and kind of bring it up in subtle conversations. And so I knew that was something that was still on her heart and on her mind. And again, for me, if I really want her happiness,
Yes.
regardless of me,
And
I
your
need to try to
discomfort.
figure out a way
To find the happy medium.
to make that happy. Because again, it's not about me. It's about, even though I'm the leader of my home, being the leader means I need to make sure that everybody is probably happier and more successful than me.
So that right there. So that's what I need men, I need fellas to hear that reverberate across the globe. Because unfortunately, what we've seen so much is that the woman is supporting, the wife is supporting the man in his happiness, and then
that's
she's
true.
miserable.
Oh, yeah.
And then he passes away, and then she's like, I can finally start living my life. That is a problem. That is a problem. And a woman has come and supported him in ministry. A lot of pastors who the wife comes and support them, and you never ever saw the wife flourish into whatever her desire was. She could have wanted to be a candle maker or whatever it is, sell candles
Totally.
or clothes,
Yeah.
whatever it was. She had to say, well, let me just put this behind the back burner and support my husband. You know what I'm saying? But I love that you said that, because you said as a leader, your responsibility is tethered to the happiness of your offspring and your wife. To be able to say, my wife's sitting up here sitting up there going to the movies, and she looking like, I wish that was me. And you like, it ain't. It's not going to be.
Well, the dynamic with Jerry and I has been very interesting since the beginning, because neither one of us thought that our lives would look like this. Like he said, when I met him, he was an executive for the Hilton hotel chain, and we both thought that was our life. I intended to. I wasn't thinking ministry would be what I'd be doing full time. I certainly didn't think I'd ever write a book or be in a movie or anything like that. So as we started to see the Lord, forging our path, no pun intended.
Good drop.
There you go, right? As we started to see, I think I'll ride that.
Yeah, ride it.
Just saw the Lord forging our path. It's like, okay, well, this is what it is. So how do we support each other in the reality that we're actually going to both be doing things we did not intend? Our family dynamic is not going to look the way we thought it would. And that shook me up for a while, because like we talked about earlier, I had that traditional mom role in my head. So we were like, okay, how does this work? Well, we're going to homeschool our children so they can be with us, so they're still with us, so we can show them what it looks like to do ministry in different parts of the globe, different denominations, take them with us on the journey of that.
That's beautiful.
Jerry pushing me to be encouraged not to let my fear or insecurity, for example, never having acted, to keep me from doing things, never having written when a publisher
Jerry, you was encouraged to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
remember-
writing, I was like, I'm not right. I'm not a writer. And he was
remember-
like, I think maybe the Lord would have you do it because you think you can't.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when she did her first Bible study, we met with the publishers and all that. We got in the elevator, and she looked at me and said, "You can call them right now and tell them I'm not going to do it. I can't do that."
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Babe," well, maybe that's why you should consider it and think about it because you can't do it.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you need God on this one.
Yeah. So just to your point of us supporting each other, encouraging each other, trying to figure out how do we help each other to fulfill the purposes of God for our lives, that it's not just about us as individuals, but both of us have to answer for what the purposes of God are for each of our lives as individuals as well. So how can we encourage each other in that regard?
What publisher are you with?
Well, I have there's a few different ones. This one
Few
is
different publishers.
Broadman Holman is the publisher on I Surrender
I
All.
Surrender.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what you got to realize is this: even when she came out of that, and even in marriage, God doesn't call the equipped; He equips the called.
Yes.
As we know, and so that's what we always need to posture ourselves is to go in knowing, you know what, Lord, I can't do this.
Yes.
I can't do this, and if this thing is going to work, then guess what? You're going to have to make it work. If you don't, you're going to embarrass yourself and me. So, but yeah.
That's good that y'all support each other in this amazing way. Man, when I tell y'all, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with y'all.
And can I tell you, we're proud of you. Like
Thanks so much.
I've known you at least 20 years at this point. I just remember small little productions and little theater houses and, all of the ways that you have continued to foster the gifts that God has given you in different ways, different acts of art, different genres, podcast, all the things. And you just keep going.
Thank you.
And so I applaud you and thank you for the platform that you've given so many people, honestly, because you've made space for them.
Yes.
In the area, that the Lord has entrusted to you. So bravo,
I appreciate
sir.
that. Well, I love the fact that, you came to one of my first little plays that I did. That was little, and then I'm touring shows across the country, and then I'm doing stuff. And what people didn't know is that even though I was doing shows across the country, my desire was to do a play at church.
Yeah.
Because I always believed in elevating productions in churches. I was like, this is great. That's amazing. But I want to see us win on this, And
you did that at our church.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when your father gave me the opportunity to do do my plays at the church, he said, you can do as many plays as you want to do. And I was just like, thank you. And I did about almost 9 or 10. It was a lot of them. I just kept doing plays every Christmas and Easter. And I just thank y'all for what y'all, because that healed a lot in me to be able to do theater in church. It healed a lot for me. And so thank you for what you're doing. Thank you what you continue to do. Thank y'all what y'all continue to build. And I can't wait to see what y'all offspring does.
Me too. These boys.
Because it's just great and it's just pouring all down and just all that. I had your brother Jonathan and your sister-in-law on my podcast.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, they were on like season 2 or whatever. It was
great.
great. I think the episode was called Sexpectations.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah. Amen.
That sounds right.
Oh, yeah, it was right. It was right. Amen. Listen, y'all give it up for the Shirers, y'all.
All right.
Been writing these love letters to you.
Ladarian thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015. My nephew, Black, a boy. The likelihood of being adopted outside of kinship, slim to none. Armani, 16 years old, Black, a boy, with 5 years in the foster care system before I even knew his name. The likelihood of ever being adopted, yep, you guessed it, slim to none. While Ladarian and Armani were trying to survive and barely thrive in an overpopulated and underfunded foster care system, I was living my own life, doing well professionally. Having been a single father with a daughter who at that point was doing well in college, it was my time to live my life, right? Wrong. I felt unsettled, tireless, agitated. There are just too many of our Black children stuck in ambiguity and in the limbo of the foster care system. In 2017, I legally adopted my nephew, Ladarian. Fast forward to 2019, I had no ties to this other young king, but I felt God instructed me to adopt him also, and I obeyed. Starting over with parenting should have been enough, right? Working with various foster care and adoption agencies to help bring awareness to the countless young Black kings in the foster care system should have decreased my agitation, right? Joining the board of directors of Advantage Adoption, an organization that helps find permanent adoptive homes for children in foster care, should have led to some type of resolve, right? No, not at all. None of it felt like I had done enough. I now realize that every one of those experiences was laying the fundamental foundation for my life's mission, Kingdom Royale. Kingdom Royale will be a luxury, state-of-the-art home for foster boys. Our first location will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We will utilize the whole person approach that instills identity, empowers them to advocate for themselves, and enlightens them regarding new perspectives and limitless options that they thought were impossible. Though the young kings will attend the local public schools that are in proximity to Kingdom Royale, our at-home curriculum will broaden their worldview through participating in the arts, attending various cultural events, learning about and engaging in multifaceted discussions about current events and even relevant historical contexts, introducing them to gardening and landscaping and even caring for our animals on our farm and on-site stables. We just launched our Startup Capital campaign with the goal of raising $2.8 million. Now, why $2.8 million? Well, in 2017, I created a web series in which I performed random acts of kindness for targeting the homeless community. One of the most notable successes was that one of the videos went viral, garnering 28 million views. However, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't raise a single dollar to help in implementing a more sustainable plan for the homeless community. So throughout the years, with much remorse, I reflected on not maximizing that moment. I knew if at that time, just 10% of the viewers donated $1, we would have raised at least $2.8 million that could have really established long-term support for the homeless community, or at least started a long-term initiative to do so. This is my do-over. This is our new beginning. Together, we can attack this at the root by specifically helping our homeless Black boys who are already disproportionately represented in the American foster care system. I'm Laterras R. Whitfield. I've been nominated for 3 regional Emmys documenting my work with the homeless as well as my personal adoption journey. Despite those accolades, the greatest award for me is truly providing the infrastructure for a transformed life. Visit kingdomroyale.com for more details. Crown a king and make a donation today. Man, when I tell you I enjoy talking to Priscilla and Jerry, yeah, I believe that brotherhood, and make sure y'all go check out the movie Forge. I'm telling you, I saw that movie. It was absolutely remarkable. And we really don't see movies that talk about discipleship with men. And that's what I love so much about that movie, The Forge. So check it out. Well, here's my favorite part of the podcast where I speak to my future wifey. Dear future wifey, in 2020, I asked God to surround me with brothers in Christ who would keep my arms lifted like Aaron and Hur did for Moses during the Israelites' fight with the Amalekites. Proverbs 27:17 states, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Now, standing on the platform during our nuptials will be mighty men of valor who you can trust will only advise me of doing right by you. My band of brothers will keep me protected, covered, and provide wise counsel for me. I hope you find peace in how my governance of this provides another layer of safety for our covenant. Your future hubby.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dear Future Wifey Podcast. Remember, be lit, live intentionally and transparently, and don't stop loving.
Make sure to subscribe to our Dear Future Wifey YouTube channel. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We welcome your support. Simply share our podcast with your friends and family.